Welcome in. Welcome in. This is your live chat for this week's Valspar Championship or anything else that you might want to talk about along the way. We can do ownership. We can play the weather game. We can talk about March Madness. We can just sit and chat. I don't really care. That's entirely up to you. Drop your questions, concerns, comments in the chat right now, and we will get rocking and rolling. Let's just jump right into it. Pierce says, thoughts on Bhatia Akshay, top 30, deep dive, perhaps. Sure. This is my website, RickRunGood.com. Everything I show you will be from that website. So here's kind of where we're at. I like Akshay. Top 30 feels like arguably one of the kind of the worst ways to deploy him. I think that he, from what you can tell about his volatility, highly volatile. So I'd almost rather take him to like miss the cut, make the cut, or finish inside the top 10, right? You know, I think there's a pretty good chance he misses the cut. I think there's a pretty good chance he contends. And top 30 doesn't feel like there's kind of enough value there. He's not one of these guys that just pumps top 22s or whatever, anything like that. So I would actually prefer to be a bit more on the ends of Akshay, but that's just me. Great March Madness video, Rick. Go Blue Jays. That's right. Who is your DFS lock this week based on leveraging projected ownership? So I did this optimal March Madness bracket. I don't know anything about college basketball or anything whatsoever. I always love the people that are like, oh, but so-and-so is 3-12 on the road and their defensive rate. I don't care. I don't care. It's just a numbers game. It's all that stuff. The bracket's out. It feels like a wide open year. And it feels like it's going to be pretty chaotic. So good luck with that. Based on ownership here in Valspar. So these are the updated numbers, RickRunGood.com on the cheat sheet. And if you are looking for someone to kind of lock in and leverage a little bit, I think the answer might be Denny McCarthy. Right. So he's got 12% projected ownership to Adam Hadwin's 24%. They have similar odds to win this golf tournament. Denny's been playing well, 13th at the Players, 14th at the Genesis, 4th at Pebble Beach. He has 3 straight made cuts here, including a 10th in 2019. So I think that like the question is, which DFS guy are you trying to leverage? And I think that one makes the most sense. Rick, I may have missed it, but who is your trending upward flag plant for player in 2023? In 2021, you called Sam Burns. 2022, you called Max Homa and nailed those. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I think the first name that popped into my head when I read that was Matt Fitzpatrick, but I'm not sure if not thinking of somebody. Let me get back to you on that. It's a really interesting thought. No pod with Andy Lack this week. Yes, Andy's working on a different project this week, and we'll be back soon. Hey, Rick, welcome back to a Fabulous Live Chat. Can you do a deep dive on Kramer Hickok? That's how you know we're at a Valspar Championship live chat, because we are rocking and rolling on Kramer Hickok. 3 straight made cuts. Actually, 2 of them are at really good events. T29 at the Genesis, T44 at the Players, and then the Honda, which is obviously a much weaker field. He finished T14 there. I love that stat line from Honda, right? Gain 1.5 off the tee, 5 on approach, small positive around the green, tiny negative with the putter. That is an ideal stat line right there. And actually, his stat line from Riviera was pretty good too. Fairly well-rounded, more heavy on the ball striking side of things. He didn't hit it well at the Players. He lost 4 strokes on approach. I do wonder if he had some water balls in there. You can see some pretty big numbers. I'd have to go back and look at his individual shot by shot, but this is trending in the right direction. Has he played Valspar before? He's had to have, right? Yeah, he has. Let's see. 3 made cuts in a row. Remember, we didn't have this event in 2020. So 3 starts ago for everybody else was 2019, or for everybody was 2019. So he's played the last 3 years. Lost a ton of strokes on approach last year, still finished T33. Yeah, okay. That's generally pretty positive. That's like a 6.5 out of 10. That's pretty good. Good day, Rick. Thanks again for the March Madness video. Since the rough is almost an inch longer than in previous years, should we target guys that rank highly in club head speed? Okay, so it's a good question. I think I'd be lying to you if I said I knew the answer to that. Like, I don't have a quantifiable way to say, okay, the rough is an inch thicker, so that means we should put Y amount of more emphasis on club head speed. I don't have that. I think it's a nice idea, nice concept. If you're using it to break ties, I do not know how tangible and how quantifiable it is. This is the course key stats at RickRunGood.com. Heavy on approach play. Scrambling and around the green were pretty significant as well. You don't necessarily have to be long here, which is pretty nice for a lot of the players in the field. I actually was going to start this off with the weather conversation, and I forgot. So normally when there's going to be a lot of weather questions, I try to do it at the beginning of the show so we can just reference everybody back to the beginning of the show. I forgot. So let's just push everybody back to 6 minutes and 30 seconds into the show. So here's what I have here from Weather Underground. I did change the station to Cove Springs, which is like right on the Innisbrook Resort. So this is about as close as we're going to get as far as the weather stations apply. So Thursday looks pretty clean for everybody, right? Sunny 78, not really any wind anywhere. What I think everyone is generally concerned about is the Friday afternoon stuff. Around noon, it goes from, 7 miles an hour to 12 miles an hour up to 15 miles an hour around 3:00. If that holds, yes, I could see that being a little bit troublesome, but I will caveat all of this by saying, like, how good has the industry historically been at getting this right? I'd argue not very good at it, because you're making assumptions on what the weather is going to be Friday afternoon on Wednesday, right? And what if it comes 2 hours later on Friday? What if it comes 2 hours earlier, right? There's just a lot of margin for error here. If you did want to lean one side, it's probably Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, but that I say that with very little confidence. If you wanted to use the weather waves, you can do that on RickRunGood.com. You can choose in the custom model only golfers from PM AM, at least 4 from PM AM, or whatever you want. You can set that in the custom model. So very, very little confidence in that, but that's the way it looks. This is a deep one. I'm gonna have to pull up the head-to-head matchup tool here in a second. Can you run a head-to-head for Marty Dow and Zach Blair? Wow. We are in it, aren't we? Okay. Do I have him in here as Marty Dow, or do I have him in as Zheng Cheng Dow? I think I have him in as, I've got him in here as, give me 1 second. Okay. And who was the other one? Zach Blair? Okay. So I'll share my screen with you in a second. I forgot to click it. So here we go. This is the head-to-head matchup tool. So you just put 2 golfers in, you compare them against one another. I have Marty winning this about 61% of the time. He beats Zach Blair basically across the board in strokes gained, 0+, 1+, 2+, 3+, 4+, 5+, all that stuff. So I've got Marty winning this about 61% of the time. Yo, Rick, is Brendan Todd the biggest winner of the rollback? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Hey, Rick, thanks for the annual bracket. Number 1, does 538 update their projections? Yes. Will weather have a factor on wave split enough to matter? Probably not, but again, scroll back 3 minutes. So we can turn this into a March Madness conversation if you want. Obviously, my caveat is I know nothing and I rely on the data. So 538 does update their projections. They've updated them once. The updated projections are not that much different than the original projections. Also, the ESPN numbers have been updated as well. So the only actionable, tangible difference is now, I think it's a lot closer to go with who else is out of the East instead of Tennessee? It's much more tangible to go with Kentucky close still, but those numbers have been closing. Other than that, I would not have changed anything about the bracket as of right now with the updates. If you go to that YouTube video that I did and download the spreadsheet in the description, it's updated as of this morning. So that means I've updated the 538 numbers. I've updated the ESPN numbers. It's updated for you. You can just go download it right now. Who's your best sleeper that nobody's talking about? Well, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about Denny McCarthy. That's interesting. Brandon Wu, 8.9% and playing really well. Top 20 at the Players, top 20 at the Honda, runner-up at Pebble Beach, made the cut here last year and finished 33rd. I think that's really interesting. I've spent a lot of oxygen on Victor Perez this week, so I don't need to spend any more time there. But I think I'd probably settle on Brandon Wu. This feels like a pretty good spot for him, and he's playing great golf. Is Carson Young the new C Young? No, but he's pretty good, right? He I would have made all the money if he would have won in Puerto Rico. He did not, but that's okay. We're not gonna kill him for that. Talented young player, starting to figure everything out. He is nowhere near Cameron Young. Did Austin Smotherman find something at the Players last week? He finished T25 at Valspar in 2020. Is he a sneaky pivot from the wildly chalky Dylan? How much? What did Dylan Wu get to? Oh boy, 9%. That I could partially be to blame for that. So here is Austin Smotherman. So, okay, this is kind of interesting because when Smotherman came on the scene last year, what do you notice? Great ball striking, great approach play, right? 5 at the Valspar last year, 3 in Mexico, 3 at the Wells Fargo, generally gaining. Then he hits this skid where he runs into the end of this season and it's just bad. And now we're starting to get those green numbers back again. We're starting to get those baseline metrics back again. It's not a lot. It's maybe 2 events, maybe 3 you can be a little bit excited about, but this is generally much better. I don't mind that. If you want to pivot to Smotherman, look at his stat line right here. You can literally see the turnaround. You can see the trends. Real bad stretch here, probably his last 35 rounds or so, and we're starting to see that uptick again. I don't mind that. Chasing in quarter 2 of our one and done after 4 guys hit Scotty to start the quarter. Hadwin is my pick, but the weather has me thinking Fleetwood or Rose for the PM. Stick with Hadwin or switch to Fleetwood or Rose. I would not switch my one and done selection based on the weather at this point. I'm guessing, it's Wednesday. This thing starts on Thursday morning. Friday is when we think the weather's coming in. I would probably not change my one and done selection based on that, especially because how tight all these guys are, right? If you Hadwin, Rose, or Fleetwood, toss up, right? Flip a coin, roll a 3-sided dice. Do those exist? I don't think it's probably worth the switch. Hey, Rick, can you take a look at Eric Cole's stat profile? It says liking him for props and DFS, maybe on an outright sprinkle. Wow. Okay. So here's Eric Cole. Generally a very good ball striker, right? He's gained strokes on approach in every event that he's played on the PGA Tour dating back to the Houston Open. It's about 8 or 10 events, except I guess technically he lost a little bit at the Farmers, but that's only 1 round and it was very, very small. And you saw what he did in Honda. He's a big Florida guy, plays out of Florida, all that good stuff. This is a pretty good stat profile. I worry about his driving because we've seen it be quite erratic. The putter, he kind of needs to gain 3 or 4 strokes putting to contend in most situations. But yeah, this is pretty solid. I don't think he's going to win, but if you want to get access to him in the prop market, if you want to maybe, I don't know what his projected ownership is going to be. He is, 9%. I'd probably prefer Ryan Gerard for 11% more, but it's not the worst thing in the world. That's fine. So oh God, I can't talk. Subscribe and smash the like button, people. Rick, not sure if you've heard, but Ben Griffin was a loan officer last year. No, that can't be right. He's a professional golfer. That can't be right. Round 1 strokes gain stats for some first round leader bets. Who comes to mind even after the stats? All right. So I think there's a better way to look at this than just the round 1 stats. I'll do that for you. So we'll go to the Holy Grail. We'll go look at round 1 stats. Do you want just the Korn Ferry Tour, or excuse me, just the PGA Tour? Do you want like European Tour? Let's do European and Korn Ferry. Okay. And we'll see guys that get out to hot starts, and we'll do it over the last handful of seasons here. So Augusto Nunez, who I actually like, 1.8 strokes gained per round in his 36 first rounds. Ryan Gerard is there as well, much smaller sample size, but he's gained in 4 straight, including 8 at the Panama Championship. JT, no surprise. MJ Duffy always gets off to a good start. Marty Dow, SH Kim, Justin Suh, Sam Burns, et cetera, et cetera. So you can cross-reference those guys with these guys. So I like the strokes gain distribution on the power rankings and looking for the 5 strokes gained per round guy. So Akshay does it 14% of the time. Ben Griffin, apparently a loan officer, does it 11% of the time with Harry Higgs and Pearson Coody. Bo Hostler, Dylan Fratelli, Sam Ryder, Will Gordon. Is there anybody, and we could open this up a little bit. We could say 100 rounds. Is there anybody that we cross-reference off both of those lists, right? Well, MJ Duffy would be one of them, right? Justin Suh, Justin Thomas, they were on the first round list and the high upside in general list. Is there anybody else I was missing there? I think those were the ones that really stood out. So that's kind of the way that I would approach that. Hey, Rick, last week was a fun week, even though my boy lost to your bet. What was that? My boy lost to your bet. Oh, got it. It says number one Terrell Hatton fan. Terrell Hatton lost to Scotty Scheffler. I bet Scotty Scheffler last week. I have now put the dots together. Got it. Can you give me your thoughts on Kevin Boy Toy Roy? Yeah, sure. We'll pull him up here. Kevin Roy seems like an interesting profile at $6,300 is what number one Terrell Hatton fan says. Yeah, it's pretty strong. So he came up on Monday, I think, when I was going through, when I just sorted like the 6K range by strokes gain approach, which we think is going to be pretty critical this week. And this is now 6 straight events in which he's gained strokes on approach and pretty handily. The event that we don't have the strokes gain breakdown for was Puerto Rico, but he finished T33. So you can make an assumption that he probably hit it well there. His 2 strengths, approach play and putting at times. Whoops. Sorry, Mina. Good call. Told me to share my screen. She's absolutely right. The strokes gain, like that's a pretty high volatile, and high upside combination. What I do want to point out is it seems like he's gotten a little bit unlucky and he's played much better than these results indicate. So his results are T33, T29, and 4 missed cuts in a row. But look at these missed cuts. He missed the cut at the American Express, gaining 2.5 strokes to the field. That's being on the wrong end of the course rotation. He missed the cut at the Farmers. That's only 1 measured round there. He missed the cut at Pebble Beach, basically on the number. And again, that's kind of a 3-course rotation that could go sideways. So I actually think he's playing a lot better than what these results indicate. Because think about this. Think about the American Express. So that is 1 measured round. No. His strokes gain total number is all 3, but his breakdown is not. Sorry, I forgot that I made that more accurate. But still, I think the point stands. Rick, are there any upcoming desert tournaments that I might want to save Hadwin for? I think we're done with desert tournaments, aren't we? We're going to go to Texas. We're done in Vegas. We're done in Palm Springs, done in Phoenix. I don't think we're going to get any desert events, as long as I'm not missing any. I love Harman this week, says Herschel. Didn't hear you say much on Monday about him. I do not like Harman. I don't. So this is kind of a concern for me. Losing strokes on approach in 8 straight. The putter's been fine, but this is not really the Brian Harman that you'd want to see here. Let's look at his Valspar history. It's probably pretty good, right? But I imagine he was in a lot better frets. Okay. T5 last year, and then 4 straight missed cuts before that, in which he's played here 8 times. He's lost strokes on approach 6 of them. And he's not hitting it very well right now, at least compared to the end of the year. This is what I don't like. I don't like when you have a tangible, like you have a moment in time and then the odds change, or excuse me, the stats change. He was smoking hot at the end of last year. The break comes, right? RSN, that's the last event of the fall. We don't see him again until 2023. And right then and there is when the troubles start. So he's lost something, something's happened. I don't know, but that's like a tangible moment in time. And now the stats are bad. That's concerning to me. So I'm out on Harman this week. Hadwin or Rosen, one and done. Toss up. I've used them both. I would lean Hadwin, but dude, like they're in way too close. Just play whoever you want to play. Both this week and longer term, who are you higher on, Cootie or Aberg? Probably Cootie at this point. I mean, he's already got the 2 Corn Ferry wins. We've been eyeing this guy for a long time. I think it's still him. Is Lingworth going to be a thing again? Yeah, let's look at David Lingworth. I got a question about this on Twitter. I think he's, this is not a course where you have to be very long. That's great for David Lingworth. And what's also great for David Lingworth is he's capable of doing this. 6 strokes on approach at the Honda, 6.5 on approach at the Players Championship. He didn't play particularly well at Bay Hill, but he got away with it with a cut made. So he's made 4 straight cuts. He is a high upside golfer, believe it or not. In 2023, David Lingworth is a high upside golfer because of his last 12 results. 5 of them are top 10s, top 11s. So I kind of dig it. I understand it. Why so much love for Victor Perez this week? Well, I don't know if I have so much love for Victor Perez, but it's definitely, I'm assuming, more than most. Let's take a look at the stat profile here. And this is the importance of having the DP World Tour numbers. If I removed the name here, Nick, and I just showed you this stat profile, I think you'd be pretty excited about it. right? You've got a guy who gains off the tee every single week and in most cases gains a stroke per round. You have a guy who gains on approach basically every single week. You have a guy who has putted beautifully since the Italian Open, which was in September. You've got a guy who won 3 starts ago. You have a guy who's won twice in his last 22 starts. We can argue about the superiority of the PGA Tour compared to the DP World Tour, but the DP World Tour is deep and good. And this is a stat profile that reminds me a lot of Minwoo's recent stat profile. I worry a little bit about the first start, right? It's been 18 starts, I think, since he's played on the PGA Tour. And I worry about that first one, getting into the routine, getting into the mix. But I think if he comes over here and he plays a couple events in a row, I think he's going to have good success. I mean, I'm not like, I don't think Victor Perez is the greatest golfer to ever live. I think that this is a really strong stat profile in a very weak field that if I removed the name and things like that, you'd be pretty excited about. So that's kind of where I'm at. What's a safer bet and option? Pearson Coody top 10, Cole. Oh, okay. Got it. I would probably in that scenario do Pearson Coody top 20 plus 360. Okay, so here's Lashley, and Lashley is there are very few guys in the 6K range that I'm remotely interested in, and Lashley, believe it or not, is one of them. He's now made 4 cuts in a row, low bar, I get it, but he had the T7 at Sony earlier this year, the T3 in Puerto Rico, the T20 at Genesis. This is a little bit concerning that he lost 4 strokes ball striking at the Players, but again, I'm pretty sure he had a couple of water balls in there. I think I remember seeing him hit 1 or 2 in 17. And that's how that racks up pretty quickly. But to still go out the Players Championship, the strongest field that he's played in quite some time, and make the cut, gain strokes on the field, I think it's viable. We look at his history around Valspar, and what do we find? Yeah, played here last year, made the cut, finished T27. I'm okay with that. Any health report on Fitzpatrick? No, but that might be a good thing, right? I mean, I think he's just in general getting healthier. The stats are a little bit concerning. He's not that well-rounded golfer that we're seeing. The approach play has not been good. I will just take a more wait and see approach on Matt Fitzpatrick, especially considering the price. I don't particularly love the 10K range this week. I think if you made me pick, I'd probably play Jordan Spieth, which is nuts. But if I had to pick between Burns or Fitz, I'm not thrilled about either. I guess I would play. Man, Sam Burns has been so bad. I'd probably play Fitz and hope that he is like 95%. I think a 95% or a 90% Fitzpatrick is better than the current state of Burns. Like, I don't think I have any concerns about Fitzpatrick's game. I think I have concerns about his health. I think I have concerns about Burns's game. So I guess I'd go with Fitzpatrick. Is Wes Bryan mispriced? Yeah. So Wes Bryan makes the cut at Puerto Rico, and I don't know what did he end up finishing? Solo 6, actually, pretty good. I don't know what his price is, but what do you think? Right, this is by far his best result in over a year. We don't have the breakdown of how he did it. Actually, what I would recommend you do. So this is kind of funny. We do not have the strokes game breakdown for Wes Bryan from the Puerto Rico Open, but his brother George was his caddy, and he was mic'd up, and they vlogged multiple rounds last week, believe it or not. So if you go to the Brian Bros YouTube channel, we could actually probably glean how Wes played in Puerto Rico from those vlogs. I have not watched the whole thing, and I wasn't looking at it through that lens, but that might be worth considering. What's his price? If you think he's mispriced, I'm going to say he's pretty low then. I mean, it's only, he's 6,300. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. Playing in a 8-team DK Friends League, ignoring ownership, pick a pair, Spieth and Woo, or Sut and Griffin, Spieth and Woo. Jay-Z is here. My main man, Slick Rick, with the sick picks. What are the funnest ways you can think of to get unique in DFS? Nationality stacking, a lineup full of average price guys. Nationality stacking would be interesting. You could just stack like 2-3 balls and just hope that everybody, like 6 guys from 2 groups, and hope that everybody just gets on the right side of the draw and plays well and feeds off of one another. You could do like the short guys, the tall guys. You could do the guys wearing specific color shirts on DraftKings. There's a lot of ways you could get creative if you want to burn your money. Favorite frozen pizza, Amy's makes a hell of a margarita. I think my go-to would generally be, growing up, it was Tony's. I don't even know if Tony's still exists. It was thinner. I don't know if that exists anymore. It would be Tony's. I think Red Baron is fine. DiGiorno, sure, if you're feeling like that. But Amy does well. Hey Rick, do you do anything to make sure to prioritize non-sports things in your life? I love sports so much, but sometimes it feels like all I do is sports. Yeah. So I don't do a very good job of it. It's weird. It's a gift and a curse that my job is my hobby, right? That's good because I always want to be doing it. So it's good for the business, but not necessarily always good for my mental health. Like, am I working or am I playing right now? You know what I mean? It's weird. Luckily Mina doesn't really care all that much about golf or sports or anything. So she helps us do other things, but yeah, I mean, I'm not good at this. I probably need some help with this as well. Is Kyle Westmoreland a cheap option? Yeah. So let's look up Kyle. I think you were okay with him a few weeks ago. Yeah, I was. And it was a lot more on some bomb and gouge places. I cannot remember where that was, but he is just bonkers long off the tee. And we've lost a little bit on approach as of late, right? Last two, he's lost on approach, which ended a streak of 7 straight events. Although the putter's gotten a little bit better. If he could just be a 0 to a +2, that'd be phenomenal. I'm not sure this is the greatest spot for him, quite honestly. Maybe he gets the club down a little bit, but I would when we get to Rocket Mortgage, let's fire up Kyle Westmoreland. Rick, you're the man. Can you do a deep dive on Ches? Shea Reve? Sure. Let's do it. Ches Reavie. Ooh. Why his hats never look like they fit? Is that a bit he's doing? So I mean, it's very ugly, right? He's missed 5 straight cuts. T41, T35, WD, T72, T45, 3 straight missed cuts before that. So he wins the Barracuda. He does not have a top 30 since then. That was 8 months ago. And look at how he was playing leading into that. He had the T8. He was gaining on approach. All those numbers were there. This is good Reavie, good Reavie, good Reavie, bad Reavie. Across the board, things are crappy, and the results are in line with that, unfortunately. Nice guy, though. I won't do it, Jim. I promise these people every week I'm not going to get triggered by this. The question is there a way on this machine to find what golfers are good in a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind? Technically, yes. You could see the strokes gained for golfers on days that there was a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. I would encourage you to look elsewhere. I would encourage you to remove that thought from your brain. And then also, I will open this up to the world. If anybody wants to tackle the wind problem with me, let's do it, right? If there's a way we can do it, let's do it. But the current status of wind stuff ain't happening. Who comes out of the West region? I don't even know who's in the West region. Okay, so who comes out of the West? The answer to that is definitely Gonzaga. 100%, no doubt about it. Rock and roll. Oh, somebody told me this. Somebody told me that I put the tiebreaker in. So if I put the tiebreaker in like this, does it matter? Or is it just going to, if I just change this, it's just going to, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'll submit it. What's it going to do? Is it going to change it back for me? So does this mean I've got Houston scoring 75 and Creighton scoring 70? Or should I do, I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. The bracket is unbelievably non-intuitive for being as simple as it is. How can these sites okay. Yep, Corey, that's right. Do you ever dab in the first round leader market? How would you use your tools to do so? I already showed you that, but I've now dabbed. Hey, Rick, first year in year one and done. I'm doing horrible. I'm currently in the 40th place. Am I front running or chasing? 40th out of 1,100, you are front running. So what are the good options? Fleetwood, Rose, Hadwin, etc., etc., etc. Are we allowed to acknowledge how absurd KP is for disrespecting Rory at 7? Insanity. Is that in his rankings? Insanity. Rory is maybe the 4th best player in the world. Maybe. Probably the 3rd. Probably the 2nd. Nah, probably the 3rd. Ryder, Lingmerth, Cole, Hammer, any interest? Lingmerth, yes. Ryder, a little. Cole, not so much. I'm here in Palm Harbor. Chilly. Thanks, Jay Steele. The animal. Has Justin Rose played the Valspar before? Yeah, but it was like he's played it a lot, but it's like pretty sketchy in terms of frequency. If I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. So let's see. Yeah, so he played it in 2021, missed the cut. Then he had 3 years where he didn't play it. He played it in 2018, T5, but then he had another gap where he missed the cut in 2015, but then he had a top 10 in 2014. So he's played it a lot. It's spread out over the last 15 years. And he's only played it twice since 2015. So take that for what it is worth. Always a pleasure hanging out with Rick. Appreciate it. What's the next tourney you're going to? I'm headed to the match play next week. I really wanted to go to the match play. I think, God, man, we were talking about going to Austin, Mina and I'm so upset about the match play going away that I wanted to go and just see it because I don't know if I'm ever going to see it again. I don't know, man. Could I just pull it? Should I just go? Should I just pull it off and go? We'd have to leave Sunday. I don't even know because it starts Wednesday. God, I would love to go. I'm so torn. I don't think we'll end up going just because logistically I'll have to plan it all and all that stuff. But I would love to go. I think next for me, it's tough. I don't think the Masters is going to happen. Someone has to stay back and do the content for CBS and do all the live hits, unfortunately. So I don't think I'm going to be at the Masters. So almost certainly the U.S. Open, PGA Championship, probably be in Memphis. I'm just looking at a schedule. And then, I don't know, something else I can mix in. What's a Pizookie? A Pizookie is a cookie baked in a pan with ice cream on top. Okay. Pano Goya. I think I've got some data on Pano Goya. Here we go. He makes a lot of cuts. Well, a lot being relative, right? So he's made 5 in a row. T11 in Puerto Rico is his best start of the year. He doesn't have a ton of PGA Tour starts, right? So he's got that T5, the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. I don't think he has full status because this is the guy, when we were at Shriners, this is the guy who got in 5 minutes before his tee time. Somebody withdrew and so I don't even think, so to be an alternate at Shriners, I don't think he has full status. So he's just trying to take advantage of it as it comes along. It's not bad. He's missed these 3 cuts in a row, and the rest of it's been pretty good. So I don't mind him. I don't know what his strengths and weaknesses are. He seems pretty kind of all over the place, but trending. Colder down here than usual. Rained yesterday and this morning. Rough is going to be lush. There you go. David on the scenes. Can we do a deep dive on John Vanderlaan? Believe it or not, I think we can. I don't know how much data I have on him. All right, here's John. I guess I have all the data. Here's John Vanderlaan. So I've got him with 1 PGA Tour start recently. So a lot of Korn Ferry. So he finished T7 in Puerto Rico, which is probably how he got into this event, right? And then he's got the 2 missed cuts at the Astara Golf Championship. That was a Korn Ferry event in February. Missed the cut at the Panama Championship, February. And then he actually had 2 good starts at the Bahamas. Maybe he's like a coastal guy. The 2 good finishes in the Bahamas, top 25s, the T7 in Puerto Rico. It's not bad, right? And you can see he's got some upside. He's got the 9 strokes gained here, the 9 here, the 7 here. It's not the worst thing in the world. But, it's actually, the problem is we have no idea how he plays, right? He has never been on a shot link event. He's been in 1 shot link event, the Barbasol in 2018. It was 5 years ago. So it's really kind of hard to tell how he plays. It's Not the worst. You have to be pretty desperate, though. Hey, Rick, have you heard anything about what caused Hank? No. Hank Lebioda? No, this is a pretty good. You know what? It's actually, I think it's pretty disappointing because he was rocking and rolling. Then he withdrew because I think his dad got sick. He withdrew like on a Friday night. He made the cut and withdrew on a Friday night. And I think it's like since that moment, it hasn't been as good, which is a shame. Rooting for him. Hey, Rick, would love to see. Okay, let's do a new model. All right. Custom model, RickRunGood.com. So if I were to make this model on Wednesday, which, sorry, I just crashed my knuckles right into the microphone. Apologies. So what would I do? I want approach play. I want maybe a little bit of course history. We didn't do that before. Maybe a little bit of... All right, well, let's just do it. Let's just do strokes gained approach last 24, which I think is probably more recent than I did previously. We'll do scrambling for 10. We will do let's do course history. So strokes gained on Innisbrook. Let's do 15 there. So we've used 45 of our 100. Let's then round this out with I don't need to do anything crazy, but I want like a little bit of just off the tee and a little bit of putting. So let's just do strokes gained off the tee last 50 and strokes gained putting last 50. Just kind of give us a little bit of a baseline. Let's do fantasy points gained for 15. That leaves us with 20. And now we can do, oh, you know what we should do? We should probably do long par threes. We'll put 10 there. And we'll put our final 10 on implied win percentage. Oh, boy. Who was our number one golfer earlier in the week? Adam Hadwin. He's 7th now. Justin Rose is number 1. JT is number 2. Tommy Fleetwood 3. Spieth 4. Fitzy 5. McCarthy 6. Hadwin 7. God. Gary Woodland 8. Wyndham Clark 9. Akshay 10. Yo, inject this straight in my veins. This, like, let's go. Let's just have this be the final leaderboard. I'd be so stoked with that. That would be so cool. Ryan Gerard, 7,300. He's 14th. Tyler Duncan is 13th. Brandon Wu is 12th. Just kind of looking through some notables here. Are we missing a 10K guy? Oh, it's Burns, 15th. Yeah, he hasn't been as good recently. Interesting. Just kind of looking for some notables. Cool. There you go. Can you give us an updated ownership projection for one and done? Yeah, I suppose I can. It's a pretty reasonable request. So, projected ownership. Tommy Fleets, 16%. Sam Burns, 16%. Justin Rose, 16%. Adam Hadwin, 13%. So, a big 4. There they are. Spieth is 8.1. Justin Suh, Matt Verpat. Okay, so here we go. Here's what I would say. If you are front running, I would use Fleetwood, Rose, or Hadwin. I'd probably even save Burns. Fleetwood, Rose, or Hadwin. If you are chasing, I would love to use Spieth, but I think you're really wasting him here. I would play Denny, or I would play Wyndham Clark, or I would play... That's probably it. And if you were super desperate and you really wanted to go further down the board, McNeely, Ben Griffin, a little bit dirty, something like that. Question about weighting recent performances against historical baselines. When I look at a golfer's strokes gained for the last 100 compared to the last 36, is this optimal weighting? I believe it is. So I don't have the data in front of me, but I did this a couple of months ago where I just kind of solved some data theories. And one of them was like, what's the best last 12, last 24, last 36, last 50, last 100, and correlated it to the results for that tournament. So I went through and I calculated all of this. I found that last 36 rounds was the most highly correlated to what the golfer was going to do that week. So that is generally what I use. Would you go for leaving salary on the board with a balanced approach, or stars and scrubs using full salary? Stars and scrubs and leave money on the table. Wyndham Clark or Justin Suh? I'm a Wyndham Clark truther, so that. For March Madness, have you ever considered converting Vegas odds per round into percentages instead of 538 percentages? Thinking about it, but not sure if it's worth it. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I listen, 538's just been good. The data is really easy to collect because they let you to export it. They let you export it, and it's been very, very successful. There's a million ways to do it. If you want to use the odds and dejuice the odds and make it probabilities, fine. If you want to use KenPom, fine. If you want to use whatever, it's all the same idea. It's just 538 is the easiest to put together a bracket, or excuse me, put together a spreadsheet like within 12 hours notice. Hey, Rick, thanks for all the great data. Will you be updating the NCAA bracket sheet? No, not really, but I did update it, and you can download it on YouTube. And then if you want to update it even more, you can do that, and you can just copy and paste it in. That is in the description of that YouTube video. Actually, I will just show you, because if you've made it this far, you probably are in it for the long haul, which is much appreciated. So I'm just going to show you that this is the video. Well, it's now playing. So this is the video. If you go to the description and click download spreadsheet, that will give you the most up-to-date version of the spreadsheet from this morning. And then you can update it further if you would like. Also, 40,000 views. What does it say that my most watched video like ever is about basketball? How was Sam Burns playing before? See, this is a good call, right? Because Sam Burns has been horrendous recently, right? This is how he's been. Losing on approach constantly. So the question is, how was he playing before Valspar last year? So let's go back. So here he was. Well, his two starts prior were a T9 at the Arnold Palmer and a T26 as the Players, and then he won. He had gained strokes on approach in 1, 2, 3 out of his 4 going in. It was a lot greener, right? This is the stat profile there compared to the stat profile that we're getting now. How was he playing before his win at Sanderson? Same thing. 8th place finish at the BMW, 18th at the Tour Championship, runner-up in Memphis, T21 at the FedEx, St. Jude, like just playing much, much better. What about before his win at the Valspar the year prior? He finished 4th at the Zurich Classic the week before, or the start before, T39 at the RBC Heritage. He had gained strokes on approach basically every week leading into that. It's just, he might win, right? Like he might three-peat and just find it this week, but it is tangibly obvious that he is not playing the way he has played before other wins. So this would be different. Maybe possible, but different. New to golf betting, what kind of bets do you recommend getting into? I'm looking to be strategic here, but I don't want to throw myself too much into the deep end. Listen, everybody's going to tell you outrights because there's no other place in the world in which you can get, 40-1 or 10-1 or whatever in 4 days coming through. And it's easiest to track and all that fun stuff. And you just say who's going to win. If you want to be a little bit strategic about this, do tournament matchups. Tommy Fleetwood versus Sam Burns, right? Find guys to play against, find guys to take a stand on, see if they can beat each other. After you graduate from tournament matchups, I believe the best place to go is round by round matchups because I think that's the most profitable, but takes a little bit more research, takes a little bit more commitment, all that fun stuff. Pick 2 guys you like, pick 2 guys you don't like, and bet, 3 or 4 matchups. Thoughts on Ryan Gerard's chances this week? Yeah, I actually liked Ryan Gerard. Obviously a great player and he's on a great run. So here's his stat profile. So made the cut in Panama, finished T3 at this Korn Ferry event, the Astara Golf Championship. Monday Q's into Honda, finishes 4th at the Honda, T11 in Puerto Rico, and now he's in on a sponsor's invite. So he's got to continue to play well. He doesn't have status. And the one event that we have for him is 7 strokes gained on approach, 8.5 in the ball striking category. So there's at least enough breadcrumbs here to be pretty interested. Oh, what's more likely to happen? A Wyndham Clark Valspar win or Creighton to make it to the Final Four? Do you want me to actually tell you that? So, I mean, like I'll actually tell you that. So Wyndham Clark is 35-1 to win, and Creighton to make it to the Final Four is, whoops. Where are the futures? Oh, I had this. Why do they make this so difficult? Am I not as like computer savvy as I thought that? Oh, here we go. Futures to reach. Okay, so Creighton to make the Final Four is 7.5 to 1. So Creighton is basically 4 times as likely to make it to the Final Four as Wyndham Clark is to win the Valspar. Thoughts on Luke List this week? I mean, I'm pretty sick. I like punishment. I like pain and punishment. I'm not even sure I can stomach this. He's going to have to gain 30 strokes ball striking and then give back 10 in the short game to have it. It's just like insanity. I'm out. Not able to copy and paste the Who Pick'em part into Google Sheets because I don't have permission. Am I missing a step? Yes. So don't use Google Sheets. Download it from the description. Then you can copy and paste it in. Rick, every cut this calendar year has rolled over to Saturday morning. Do we have a major pace of play problem, and how would you change it? Shotgun start? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe. I don't care. But I don't think that would cut that much off. We just got to do like 120 player fields. Just got to do 120 player fields. You've got to... So, like, there's also, like, little stuff that... So, like, what's crazy about Riviera is they still start on 1 and 10. They have to start on 1 and 11. Because 10 is that drivable par 4 where you're already waiting and you're waving guys up in the first group of the day. We got to be smart about this. Start on 1 and 11. If you want to do a shotgun start on Thursday and Friday, great. I'm fine with that. But yeah, we got to have smaller field. Like, we got to get these rounds done. There was actually a really good, I think it was on Golf Central. They did a really good thing where they showed 2 identical shots that were hit into 16, or excuse me, into 17. One was like right before they called it on Friday night, and one was Saturday morning. And the 2 guys, I can't remember the 2 guys, but they were like a group apart. One of them bounced into the water. One of them spun back to like 2 feet. And it's just like, because of the rain over, you just cannot have that big of a difference between a group that is like that's like 12 minutes apart from another group. You just can't. So we got to figure our stuff out here. With Keegan Bradley out, who's your go-to golfer under 9,400? I'd be fine with Hadwin. I'd be fine to pivot to Denny. I'd be fine to go to Wyndham Clark. I'd be fine to, that's basically it. Kentucky instead of Tennessee. Like this too outside the data because of recent Tennessee injury. No idea about the injuries. I don't really care. The injuries are included in the projection. So I don't really care. But I agree that the numbers have tightened to the point where you could go Kentucky over Tennessee right now. That's much more of a toss-up than it was when I created that video on Monday. I'm going to continue to roll with Tennessee because I don't really care that much, and it's close enough to be fine. But if you wanted to go to Kentucky there, great. I wish Tom Kim played this amount. I think he'd either crush it or we'd have a Sony all over again. Can we fade Hadwin in a GPP multi? I've got him at 23% ownership. Yeah, I mean, I would have no problem if you just wanted to go with Denny over Hadwin. No problem there. Pick 2, Cole, Ryder, or Wallace. Cole and Ryder. Ooh, don't ask the same questions twice, please. I'm getting to them. Which lefty would you go with this week? Oh my God, not gonna do the lefties. So Brian Harmon's a lefty. I'm scrolling through the list. Higo's a lefty. Akshay's a lefty. Sometimes I think Robbie Shelton's a lefty, but I don't think he is. But sometimes my brain thinks that. I've got 3 lefties in the field. There's probably guys I'm missing. I'm just scrolling through here. I'll go Akshay. Safer play Woodland or Ben On? Honestly, at this point, it might be. Let's look at Ben On. I didn't really want to say that. I don't think. I think you'd probably have to go with Woodland here, and I hate it. But oh man, maybe not though. Benny's been good. He's made a bunch of cuts. He withdrew from API. Let's look at Gary Woodland together again. I'll convince myself on Gary Woodland at some point. Man, God, he's so bad with the putter. He's great everywhere else. I'll say Gary, but I hate them both. Oh, we can do Tyler Duncan, by the way. Yeah, so a couple straight questions about Tyler Duncan. He's playing much better. I think he's got 3 pretty good finishes in a row. Yeah, T33 at the Genesis, 3rd at the Honda, T54 at the Players. What do we see that's different? The ball striking numbers. He's driving it well. Second shots are fine. The putter's always all over the place. So you catch him on a +6 week, it's possible, but it's always been all over the place. It's kind of good. This is the, again, low bar, but like the best we've seen Tyler Duncan in a while. I wouldn't mind taking a little bit of a stab at it, but not super crazy. Hey, Rick, absolutely killing it since you switched to betting the top of the board. Congrats. Yeah, it's amazing when you just bet the best guys in the field. Maybe I should have been doing this for a long time. Considering ownership, would you give your top 2 players from the 6 and 7K ranges? Sure. Considering ownership. So in the 7, let's just do 6 and 7K range, sort by projected ownership. Or actually, I'll do it this way so we can find some pivots. I would say in the 7K range, ownership considered, Ben Martin, 5th at Honda, made the cut to players, 3rd at Pebble Beach, 13th at Pebble Beach. Hasn't played here in a while, but he's got a couple of made cuts at 5% ownership. Don't mind that. The 6K range, my buddy Dylan Wu is now super popular, so I don't think we could necessarily go there. I don't mind going back to Nico Echeverria, and I don't mind Austin Smotherman or Augusto Nunez. Back-to-back. I love these back-to-back comments. Can you do a deep dive into Smotherman? Had a good finish here last year. The very next comment, Smotherman is trash. One and done. Currently first out of 45 by 4 million. We pick 2 players every week, leaning Rose, Hadwin, or Tommy Ladd. Any point in saving Tommy for the Scottish Open? No. Would you factor in Friday's projected win? No. So yeah, 2 of those 3 would be great. Thoughts on building lineups with Spieth and Thomas combined? I don't know what that leaves you with. You would definitely be different. I've answered a lot of these. I've answered this, but what do you think about the PGA Tour not being able to complete a single round in one day, even under perfect conditions? It's not great. My McNeely thoughts are generally unchanged in that he's he just has a much more narrow path than a lot of these guys because he's super reliant on the putter. 7 strokes gained at the players, lost 7 in the ball striking categories. It's concerning, but believe it or not, it is not uncharacteristic. He gains between 3 and 10 strokes putting seemingly every single week. So it's just a much more narrow path. I wish this was not his stat profile. I do think that he's coming back from an injury. We've only seen him play once from the injury. He's generally better than a lot of the field, right? When we go back to the start of the season, if we would have taken the guy who finished this run through Farmers before the injury, if we would have taken pre-injury McNeely and put him in this field, he'd be like 20-1. So I don't mind trying to be early on McNeely. March Madness question. You ran the spreadsheet very early in the week. Have you run it again? Yes. The link is in the description of that video, or you can just download it and update it yourself. Not that much tangible. Maybe Kentucky over Tennessee. Same answer for this question. I watched the vid on West. Didn't do great around the green and putting, and that's typically where he plays well. Ooh. Said he feels in complete control of his game, but hasn't scored well. I'm listening. Rick, which F1 drivers are you rooting for? And who's your favorite principal? I don't know what that means. But will we see a Rick Drive Good site soon? In my dreams, we will. I doubt it, though. I don't have a favorite yet. I'm open to suggestions. I think I understand the greatness of Lewis Hamilton. I also think so. Is Lewis Hamilton like Tiger and Max Verstappen is like Rory? Or Rahm? Who's the Rory of F1? And who's the Victor of F1? Who's the Jordan Spieth of F1? Then I'll decide where I don't know yet. I feel like it's not good to just say I like Red Bull, right? Like that I would just be like picking the New York Yankees. I don't know. I've answered a lot of these, which is good. 8,700 left. Who do you like? Do you often leave salary on the table? Very often. You should check out the optimal lineups. Oh, go look at I did, I'll pat myself on the back here. I had a great newsletter this week. Really happy about that. Under 87, or you got 87 left, I would either go Brandon Wu at 85, or I would go to Victor Perez at 7,800. My newsletter, I'm so proud of it, to be quite honest with you. I've really just tried to invest more time and energy into it. So here was the players' optimal lineup. Whoa, I guess I can make this a little bit bigger. Stand by, peeps. I'll make it bigger for you. There you go. That was the optimal last week, 49,100. If you go back and look at just, like every newsletter ever, like 48,400, the Arnold Palmer, just like leave money on the table. Leave money on the table. Andy says he will tackle the win problem with me. Andy, you're hired. I can't pay you anything, but you are hired. If you only had to play one 10K stud on DraftKings, 100% of your lineups, who would it be? Jordan Spieth. Okay, we haven't really talked about a lot of the top of the board yet. There hasn't been a lot of questions about the top of the board. The argument for Spieth is basically he's gained strokes putting in 2 straight, and it's kind of getting better. His approach play has been great. He can excel on golf courses where playing positionally is good. Think about Harbour Town, where he won there. And I just love the upside compared to Spieth, compared to Burns, compared to who's the fourth guy? Oh, Fitzy. So my answer is Jordan Spieth. We've not spent a lot of time on the top of the board. My answer is Jordan Spieth. Hey, Rick. Do you play single entry? That's basically all I play, right? So I don't like to play things I can't max enter because I think I'm already kind of behind the 8 ball if I don't. So I play a lot of the single entry or 3 maxes. And the strategy there in single entry, usually the ownership is a bit more polarized. So like if you have a guy who's going to be 25% owned in like the $15 150 max, he might be 32% owned in the single entry. So we basically just I try to be a little bit more different in that situation. Have we covered, I got something in my eye. Have we covered Joel Damon yet? No, I don't love it. I liked this version of Joel Damon when he was gaining 4 or 5 strokes on approach. We haven't seen that in a while. And he's kind of lost the putter a little bit as well. So I don't love it, to be frank. Does he have Valspar history? Does. Is it good? It's fine. T30 in 2019, T39 in 2022. I wish we were getting a better version of Joel Damon. What is this? I don't even know what this is in. I don't even know what this is in regards to. It just says, doesn't matter what order you put the score in, the computer knows your winner has more points. I don't even know what that is. Oh, okay. I think that's about the March Madness thing. Please no one bid up Victor Perez tonight. Yeah, Jock Market. Stock Market DFS. It's sick. They have props now. So they've got like every side of the game covered. We have a power hour tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be sick. Go sign up for Jock Market. Use the code Rick. Get your deposit bonus. Put it on some props. Buy some shares of Victor Perez. Who is more hipster, Suh or Brandon Wu? Brandon Wu. I don't have the time nor the energy to do this one, but it says making the balls not go as far as just absurd. Why are these people so dumb? Yeah, I could probably do 2 hours on it. It's pretty nuanced. These are some good questions. Yep. Are you as devastated as I am? Is this going to be the last match play? I see you're in the Rainmaker streets. Are you ever going to do any content on it? It's a good question, Brent. So again, I could probably do an hour on Rainmakers. Concept amazing, execution good for DraftKings. The only thing that I've got a beef with is the fact that the cards are only for this season. Now, I guess I'm under the impression that you'll be able to like burn them up or convert them or something like that. You'll probably have to pay for it or have points or something to convert them, which I think is a money grab. Honestly, I think that if those cards were good forever, maybe that would mess up the game. I don't know, but the concept's really, really strong, right? It's the utility that NFTs want. It's really interesting to have to put teams together with just your cards. I don't know if I'll do content. I'm not sure if I know enough, quite honestly. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, I feel like, over there, but it's kind of interesting. I think being in the marketplace is where you want to be. I'm going to go into overtime here just a little bit because I've got more questions. Thoughts on TGL? I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be one of the first pieces of golf content that is like actually targeted to me, right? I'm the demo for this. Younger, data-driven, quick in, quick out, stars, cool with simulators, and I think I'm the demo. So I'm pretty excited for it. I hope it's executed really, really well. Thoughts on Keegan Bradley top 5 this week? He withdrew, so I think he will not. Hey Rick, do you know where we can find historical course stats like stroke average per hole? I have it. What I'll do is it won't be this week, obviously, because it's Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but I'll add that stuff to the course key stats page. What happened to Lucas Herbert last week? Everything. It was horrible. Hey, Rick, does a player who lost 5 strokes on the green last week need to make up 5 in a field this week? Do you make adjustments for weaker fields? So what you could in theory do is you could use the weighted strokes gained. So that would be the adjustment here. So the weighted strokes gain metrics take into account strength of field, variety of other factors, and you could use weighted strokes gain this week. Can you give us a current? I already did that. Don't forget to hit the like button. That's a good idea. Despite him airmailing the green on 16 and 17, what are your thoughts on Higo? I'm still a buyer on Higo, right? I don't know what happened on 16 and 17. He was 30 yards off on both of them. I don't know what happened, but we can all agree this is a much better stat line for Garrick Higo than we've seen recently. He's back to gaining off the tee. He's good-ish on approach. Around the green's been great. And then the putter is volatile, which is what you want. This is a good profile. This is a good profile for Higo. Yep. I agree. Answered it. Go back to the beginning for the weather questions. Thoughts on Jaeger this week? Yeah, there were a couple questions I skipped over for Jaeger because I was distracted by another question. But here's the Jaeger stuff. It's pretty good, actually. So just one missed cut since Bermuda. A lot of I don't know where the upside is, right? He finished T14 at Honda. That's great. T9 in Houston. That's great. But that was 10.5 strokes in the short game. I love this Honda result more. 9 strokes ball striking. He's gained 2.5 or more ball striking in 3 straight. One of them was the Players. One of them was Riv. All right. Okay. I'm building on Jaeger. I'm getting excited about this. What's the transit? What's like the exchange rate? If you gain 2.5 strokes ball striking at the Players, is that 6 at this event, right? Like, what's the exchange rate? Actually, I could tell you, but that's kind of how weighted strokes gain works. But that's pretty exciting. He's been awesome from tee to green for a long time. Okay, I'm in on Jaeger. Let's drop some Jaeger bombs. Let's go. Looks like Friday is going to be extremely windy for both waves. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think it's definitely more towards the PM, but I'm not like super confident enough to be able to do that. 100 single entry with 3,300 people. Am I burning money starting JT Jordan and fading the PM, AM, and 9K guys? You'll definitely. Oh, I was going to say that seems like a lot of people for $100 single entry. It's 388. I kind of like it. The 9K range is going to be super chalky. The 2 guys with win equity at the top's kind of, then you got to get really down into the 6K range, which is a little bit concerning for me, but I don't mind that. If you're playing the Tournament of Champions seat entry out of 200, what's your favorite 9K play, 9 to 10K play, and then a value play? Denny. And then I don't know how far you want me to go down the board here, but I mean, Jaeger comes top of mind, right? Because I just looked through all that and it was pretty good. But he's 7,800. You want somebody cheaper than that? No, not him. Like Lee Hodges wouldn't be bad. Paul Newman. No, Andy's working on a different project this week. He'll be back soon. If we looked at all the past winners in the past few events that aren't top 10 players, if we looked back at all the winners in the past few that aren't top 10 players, How correlated are recent finishes? It feels like non-top guys win as a culmination of recent play. See Wyndham and Suh. I'm not sure if I 100% am following that, but I think what you're saying is the non-top guys have to be playing well coming in, as opposed to the top guys that don't have to be. James, if that is your thesis, I tend to agree with it. Rick? I answered that. Oh, okay. You want me to just give you one? So first round leader. My absolute undeniable first round leader will be Justin Suh. Undeniable. Core Cascading. 3,000%. Damn you, Keegan. Thanks for the super chat. Any leverage on Virginia? Okay, I mean, if you're at this point, we're into overtime already. I'll just turn this straight into like a freaking March Madness thing. So, all right, here we go. The question is there any leverage on Virginia to advance to the second round? So to advance to the second round, do you mean a round of 64 win? Or so let's look. Okay. So a round of 64 win for Virginia. So that would be the second round, right? Would be, let's make sure I get Virginia right here because we've got Virginia Commonwealth. We've got West Virginia. Where's like real Virginia? Here we go. No. In fact, it's quite bad. So they are being selected 84% of the time. They are only winning for that round of 64 game 72% of the time. You also do not get leverage for winning in the round of 32. You do not get leverage for winning in the Sweet 16. You do not get leverage for getting to the Elite Eight. You do not get leverage basically anywhere on Virginia, unfortunately. It gets a lot better. This one just says Creighton. Yeah, listen, like I'm not super stoked about it either, right? I don't watch basketball. Like I don't know what Creighton's deal is. I'm not stoked about it either. However, it is undeniable that Creighton is not being selected as much as they should, right? So to win their Final Four game, Creighton and Marquette, are just as likely. Creighton and UConn, just as likely. Creighton and Baylor, like Creighton is more likely to win their Final Four game than Duke is. It's not my opinion. I'm not making an opinion here. It's what the math says. So I gotta advance them. Am I thrilled about taking Creighton to the national title game? No. But here we are. Hey, Rick, can we end the one and done? No. I love pivoting from chalk even more in these lesser fields. Yeah, go for it. How often does someone lose strokes and still win? 5% of the time. It's happened, I think, 28 times in 550 measured events dating back to 2008. 5% of the time it happens. What stat can a winner least and most afford to lose? They can probably lose around the green or off the tee. But losing with the putter is hard. Losing on approach is probably even harder. I would love a stat that shows golfers' course history be more telling on performance versus golfers that are generally more volatile in their course history is less telling. I can make that for you. That's fine. Do you watch any of the new high-stakes poker season? No, I haven't, but I probably should. Is Webb going to be bad from now on or what? Unfortunately, it kind of feels that way. With everyone bringing up rounds, finishing up the next day, what's the chances the PGA Tour turns into MLB and puts guys on the clock? 0. Because it's run by the players, the golfers. Oh, okay. I'll have to learn these. I can attest to a great newsletter this week. Thank you. I'm fully prepared for Wyndham to break my heart. I agree. In regards to Rainmaker, which rank card is your highest? Not that high. I've not invested a ton of money into this. I do have I pulled a Rory McIlroy. Have you heard of him? Rare card. I think it's worth $200 out of a $20 pack. But some of these packs are dog duty. Let me tell you that. Can you add distance per shot to Rick Run Good? For sure. Appreciate the golf pods and the NCAA one. Yeah, I think we're kind of at the end here. But this is mostly just nonsense in the chat, which I'm here for. Listen, we're at the deadline. That's fine. I've answered all these, or we're just having fun. Michael says thanks for the content. Appreciate you. Yeah. All right. I think we're good. All right. Cool. Everyone, good luck with the Valspar. Everyone, good luck with your brackets. Pray to the basketball gods that Creighton makes a run at this thing. I wish you all the best of luck. Goodbye.